Today's mini lesson will be on recognizing sentences and fragments. Welcome, writers! I am going to say a few words, and I want you to give me a thumbs up if you can understand what I'm saying, or a thumbs down if you don't quite understand what I am trying to say. I'm going to start off by saying the words is fun, can be hot. I should see some thumbs down because I really didn't explain what I was saying. What if I changed that and I said, the beach is fun. It can be hot. Now I think you have a better understanding of what it is that I'm trying to say. Boys and girls, on today we're going to learn about sentences and fragments. Come along as we learn all about them. You've heard me mention the word sentences and fragments, but what does it mean for something to be a sentence, and what does it mean for something to be considered a fragment? Well, sentences must make sense. They also begin with a capital letter, and they have ending punctuation. Fragments are just words or phrases. They don't necessarily make sense, such as when I said, is hot, or when I said before, is fun. So, we're going to learn about sentences and fragments. It is very important that when we write, we are going to write using sentences, because if we use fragments, your readers or your audience will be very confused about what it is that you're trying to say. Right now, I want you to work with me here. I'm going to say a few words, and I want you to decide if they are sentences or fragments. Just listen as I state these words. At home. First grade. Is Tuesday. Just by saying those phrases alone does not make sense. You have to be able to understand what it is I'm trying to say, so I need to turn those fragments into sentences. So instead of just saying at home, I could say, we are at home. That sentence makes sense. Instead of just saying first grade, I could say, this is a first grade classroom. That makes a lot more sense than just saying first grade. Let's take the third example. Is Tuesday. Well, is Tuesday really doesn't make that much sense. But if I were to say today is Tuesday, that would make a lot of sense, and we can understand what it is that I'm trying to say. So boys and girls, I'm going to talk to you today about writing incomplete sentences instead of using fragments. Let's take a look at my example that I have here on the board. The first words are North Carolina. And if you notice, I put a period at the end, and I started with a capital letter. Even though I did those two things, that still does not make it a sentence. Sentences have to make sense. So it starts off by saying, North Carolina, go to the beach. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are very confused right now as to what it is I'm trying to say. Ski in mountains. The leaves change colors in the fall. Well, we need to go back over those and let's decide whether or not these are real sentences or if they are fragments. Let's take a look at where it said North Carolina. Again, there's a capital letter and there's a period. However, it doesn't quite make sense. So that is not a sentence. That is considered a fragment. Let's move on. Here we see go to the beach. Well, I see a period. And this time, I see 4 words. But you know what? It's still not a sentence. It doesn't make sense. Go to the beach. Who's going to the beach? What's going to be at the beach? It doesn't make sense. Let's go on. It now says ski in mountains. Ski begins with a capital S. And there's a period at the end of mountains, but that still does not make this a sentence. This is also a fragment. Ski in mountains. Well, who's going to ski in the mountains? What are we talking about here? All we see is ski and mountains. Let's keep going. Let's take a look at the next set of words. This says, the leaves change colors in the fall. Well, the leaves change color in the fall. Well, let's take a look at that. What is it talking about here? Leaves, what do? They change colors in the fall. Well, that is a sentence. It's telling you who or what and what it does. So it's talking about the leaves and the fact that they change colors in the fall. If we look back at the very first part where it had North Carolina, well, it didn't tell us very much about North Carolina. We don't know exactly what it's trying to say. So looking at that, all of those are fragments except for the very last sentence, which says, the leaves change in the fall. While writing, it is very important that we write using complete sentences and not fragments. If we write using fragments, then our audience or our readers, they will become very confused and they will not understand what it is that we're trying to say. So we need to pay close attention and make sure that while we're writing, we are using complete sentences that make sense. Now that we've learned about sentences and fragments, it's time for us to start moving around and talking with our partners. Right now, I would like for each of you to turn and face your east partner. Now that you're with your east partner, I would like for you to listen to what I'm about to say, and I want the both of you to decide whether or not what I'm saying is a sentence or a fragment. Keep in mind, I'm going to ask you to share in just a moment. So let's listen and see if what I say is a sentence or a fragment. I would like for you to turn and talk to your east partner to decide what you think it is. Are you ready? Here we go. Bus 282. Bus 282. Go ahead and let's talk to your east partner and let's decide whether or not you believe this is a sentence or a fragment. Now that we're back together, let's talk and let's discuss what this is. I said bus 282, bus 282. Well, that is a fragment. It is not a sentence. What about bus 282? Actually, that is the school bus that I used to ride when I was in middle school. But you would not have known that from me just saying 282. Now, here we go. This time, we're going to turn and we're going to turn to our northern partners. So we're going to look to the north and we're going to choose that partner. Here we go. We're going to decide if this is a sentence or a fragment. Let's get started. Rainy day. Rainy day. Let's talk with our partners and let's discuss whether or not rainy day is a sentence or a fragment. Here we go. Welcome back. That is a fragment. What about a rainy day? I could say, today is a rainy day. That would become a sentence, but just saying the words rainy day, that is a fragment. It is not a sentence because it doesn't make sense. It's leaving out some very important parts. What we're going to do, we're going to take a look at my writing and we're going to turn those fragments into sentences. If you remember, the first fragment, said North Carolina. Well, let's turn that into a sentence. Here we go. We can do that by saying North Carolina is a state. That is a sentence, but simply saying North Carolina does not work. That's a fragment. Let's take a look at the next part. It says go to the beach. Well, let's discuss how we can change go to the beach into a sentence. Instead of saying go to the beach, you can say you can go to the beach or ski in the mountains. That actually combined two fragments, go to the beach and the fragment ski in the mountains. I love that we were able to combine those. And then our very last sentence was an actual sentence, so we don't have to do anything at all to where it says the leaves change colors in the fall. Boys and girls, great writers write in complete sentences. This helps readers to understand what it is that they're trying to say. In order for us to understand, we have to know exactly what each sentence says. So while writing, I would like for you to remember that we're going to write in complete sentences and not write in fragments, because we will become really confused if we see a lot of fragments. So keep that in mind. Great writers write in complete sentences. Have a great rest of the day.